What's up, everybody? It's your favorite show, Get a Bucket. I'm your host, Trey, and as usual, hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. Today, we're about to talk about the NBA play-in recap so far, because we only got one more time to figure out who's going to make the 8th seed. So, I ain't going to lie to you. My 7th seed predictions should have worked out the way that I thought they were going to. Let's talk about them, shall we? We got the Hornets versus the Heat. That one went the distance. Everybody was getting some buckets, right? We had 127 favoring the Hornets to 126 for the Heat. I think the Heat would have won this matchup if Bam Adebayo doesn't get tripped by LaMelo Ball with 11 minutes of play in for Bam. Because to be clear, their defense, the Heat's defense, trash when Bam's not on the floor. So, again, that defense plus that experience, it led me to believe that Miami would win this. Now, here's my thing. Again, the Hornets, they were getting a bucket. Their big three was producing, except their big three was not LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, and Con Knuppel. It was actually LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, and Coby White. Now, don't get me wrong, too. Miles Bridges did perform well. But, again, Coby White gave them some heroic moments that game. And if it weren't for him, they might not be playing. Yes, LaMelo Ball had the game-sealing layup, right? We hear you. Tyler Hero, you did your thing as well, too, for the Miami Heat. We appreciate it. Andrew Wiggins was playing well. This was a good quality game. The only thing was, again, Bam Adebayo was not playing because he got tripped, and that did affect the game. Also, Norman Powell, all-star, only getting 19 minutes and shot just 9 attempts. I understand Davion Mitchell played well. I understand Tyler Hero played well. I understand that Andrew Wiggins played well. Still, your all-star has got to get more than 19 minutes and 9 field goal attempts. That one's a little questionable for sure right there. So, kudos to the Hornets. They did their thing. I'm kind of disappointed in Miami, but again, they lost their best player, Bam Adebayo, so it makes sense. But again, I thought the Heat were going to win that one. It's close. Too bad we ain't playing horseshoes. The Blazers versus the Suns, that was for the 7th seed on the Western side, and the Blazers surprised some people, including myself partially, and won 114 to $110. Now, I ain't going to lie. Deni Avdija played some good basketball. He played some good basketball. I'm not trying to say Deni Avdija is better than Devin Booker, but we may start having to have that question. I mean, Deni Avdija gave 41 points, 7 rebounds, 12 assists. The turnovers were a little bit high, but I think he had 5. We can overlook that because, again, 41 points and 12 assists, I'll take that any day of the week. Here's my thing. I got to look at players like Dillon Brooks because, Dillon, that's your matchup. Yes, you had a 20-point performance, but Deni had a 41-point performance, and you're supposed to be the wing defender. That looked a little tough because I don't think we have Deni Avdija as that high of a player. He had an all-star year for sure. But, to be clear, though, Deni Avdija and Drew Holiday, it's questionable if that should be able to beat Devin Booker, Dillon Brooks, and Jalen Green. I will give you, ladies and gentlemen, the Sun were not healthy. I said that. That was partially my reason why I put the Portland Trail Blazers over the Sun. I still saw enough talent for the Sun where I'm like, y'all should have got this job done. Jalen Green, 35 points. Devin Booker, 22 points. Dillon Brooks, 20 points. That should breed a W most nights, especially if JG hitting 35. 2 4-point, come on now, bro. They were hooping. And I thought when the Blazers lost that lead, I thought it was over. I even turned off the game, went to sleep, and then woke up and saw the Portland Trail Blazers won the game. So kudos to Portland for surprising some people, even myself, even though I projected that they would beat the Sun. So that was a good, entertaining game to watch, ladies and gentlemen. Go catch some highlights from both games if you haven't. They were good, fun entertainment for sure. Now, the 76ers versus the Magic. I'm not going to lie. I thought the Magic were going to actually win that game. And the reason why, because Joel Embiid was out. But they lost 109 to 97. The loss I can accept. I told you about about the Hornets beating the Heat, right? Well, the Magic, if they had lost a closer game, I wouldn't have been as flabbergasted. I wouldn't have felt for the team as badly as I do. Or the fan base, I should say. But hear me out. Even with Joel Embiid gone, the 76ers are still a formidable team. Right? They got some decent pieces, especially if they're hitting. Oh, wow. They're not a bad squad. But even still, losing by 12 points, I wanted to see a closer game. Like within 5 points. That shows me, okay, you know what? It could have just been the 76ers night. This shows me the 76ers just might be better than the Magic. Like, I get it. Paolo Banchero going 7 of 22 isn't going to help. I get it. Jalen Suggs going 1 for 9 is not going to help. Desmond Bane having a 30-point-plus game. Franz Wagner got to do a little bit more. Kind of disappointed in the Magic. I'm kind of disappointed in the Magic. Now, they get an opportunity to show some redemption for that 8th seed matchup. But we do have some question marks, ladies and gentlemen. I was just in a group chat where people were talking about we need to end up trading. No, they need a point guard. Meaning either Desmond Bane or Jalen Suggs has to go. But then that also bred the conversation like, well, should we have Franz or Paolo traded? That's the type of conversations we're going to be talking about if the Magic can't get things done. Not this season, at least not for me, not this season, but next season. Because this is their first season together. But kudos to the 76ers for getting the 7th matchup. Because, again, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, VJ Edgecombe, y'all boys did y'all things. So kudos. Kelly Oubre, you did your thing. And it's making it tough, especially if Joel Embiid plays, to have the Celtics advancing with ease. It really does. But we'll talk about that another time. That's another discussion for another day. Let's move on down to the next game. Warriors versus Clippers. I actually thought, believe it or not, that the Clippers were going to win this game, ladies and gentlemen, but instead they lost 126 to 121. Now, the Warriors played well. They have a bigger mismatch, meaning KP is 7-3. That does help out the Warriors. Steph Curry on the team. He hooping. He getting a bucket, right? Kawhi Leonard, this was your game to win. And now I'm asking, is it time for Kawhi to move on? Because with this roster, I can see the Clippers, in fact, blowing the team up. Don't get me wrong, the Clippers were one of the hotter teams in the second half of the season. They're one of the first. I think they're the first team in NBA history to be down 15 games from making the playoffs, and then making the playoffs with above 15 game record. Like, that's not bad. But also, when I looked at Chris Dunn and Darius Garland as a backcourt, I wondered, could that be something that they do for the future? Because in this game, they had 18 assists and only 3 turnovers between the two, along with 4 steals. And they were able to get a bucket. Chris Dunn obviously is the defense. Garland is obviously the offense. But they both can play make. So again, ladies and gentlemen, they might be able to do that and have someone like Benedict Mathurin inserted into the starting lineup or keep him on the bench. Because it seemed like him and Jordan Miller, shout out GM, you what? But it seemed like him and Jordan Miller were doing some positive things this season. So I can see the Clippers trying to go a different direction, but letting go of Kawhi Leonard, especially if you can get a huge haul for him, I think that would be interested in watching and looking out for. So again, ladies and gentlemen, while kudos to the Warriors, they played they hearts off, all right? Like Steph Curry, 35 points. Hear it. Draymond Green, elite defense. To the point that Kawhi Leonard tips his cap to you because it was hard for him to score. Is it time for Kawhi to move on, or is it time for the Clippers to move on from Kawhi? I think that's the discussion we're going to have, but that's another discussion for another day. Now let's move on to the 8th seed matchups. Because we're looking at here the Sun versus the Warriors. Now the Sun, they were down versus the Trailblazers, went up against the Trailblazers, and then lost to the Trailblazers. And keep in mind, I had expectations of the Sun a little bit more so than I do against the Warriors. Now, the Warriors, like I said, they are injured. But end of day, Steph Curry will still be the best player on the floor. And I think Kristaps Porzingis is going to be the X factor. Because when we're looking at the Sun, well, who do they have to guard KP? I like Mark Williams. I do. I don't think he's ready yet. Kaman Malawach, I don't think is ready yet either. They have limited bigs on that team right now, ladies and gentlemen. Now, D-Book, I expect to have more than 20. 22 to be exact. I expect him to have more. I'm going to be curious what Jalen Green does. Dylan Brooks, you're a 15 to 20 point per game scorer for me. So both of those three can get a bucket. But if we can see other players like Grayson Allen, let's say if Grayson returns, that's going to speak volumes for them. That's going to help out. They need their depth. But honestly, with Steph Curry being the best player on the floor and with KP, Kristaps Porzingis being kind of a mismatch, especially if Draymond Green can play the defense that he was playing against Kawhi Leonard, I have expectations of the Warriors winning. Can the Phoenix Suns win? Yes. Especially if they start getting hot. I think the Sun can demolish these Warriors. But at the same time, the player who has the capability of being the hottest player on the floor is Stephen Curry. And again, we just saw him drop 35. So, again, while I can see both teams winning, I'm leaning the Warriors. But let's see what happens here, though. Because sometimes the Warriors' role players don't step up when need be. And the only thing that's beneficial is that you got defenders like Jalen Green and Devin Booker to beat. Which Devin Booker is solid as a defender. I'm not saying Jalen Green is. So from a perimeter standpoint, the Warriors can get the job done. And remember, they're a perimeter-oriented team. So they should be able to win this matchup. But let's see. Now, we got to also look at the Magic versus the Hornets. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to biasly say I am pulling for the Hornets. It has nothing to do with this game, though. It has everything to do with the first round between the Pistons and the Hornets. Because remember, they got into a little scuffle during this regular season. So I would love to see Duran versus Musa Diabate. That'd be nice because those are the two guys that were really in the thick of things from a fighting perspective. And then Isaiah Stewart and Miles Bridges as well, too. I want to see how that battle goes. But if we're focusing on the Magic versus the Hornet, I actually expect the Magic to have a bounce-back game. More specifically, Paolo Banchero to have a bounce-back game. Jalen Suggs to have a bounce-back game from a getting a bucket perspective. Because if they do that, they should be able to beat the Hornets. Now, again, the Hornets have been one of the more the more interesting and entertaining teams to watch. They've been one of the more productive teams, especially on the offensive end. Well, to be more specific, second half of the season. First half, they weren't like this. But that experience, I think, is going to catch up to them at some point in time. It took a lot of heroics for them to beat a Heat team that lost their best player. Now, I don't think the Magic have the same level of experience that the Heat do. But I think in terms of talent, well, the Magic still stack up nicely against the Hornet. The Hornet might have the more talented roster, but the experience leans the Magic. And the talent gap isn't that far. So while I want the Hornets to win, again, just to see them versus the Pistons, I think that could be a little entertaining. Another rivalry starting to form. I do expect the Magic to win. But again, Paolo Banchero, you got to dominate. Franz Wagner, you got to dominate. Desmond Bane, you don't have to dominate because you just dropped 30-plus points in the previous game. So as long as you give us 20-something, I'm cool. Maybe even 18. But other players' eyes will be on you for sure. And Wendell Carter, to be clear, you better start doing something a little bit better out there, ladies. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to hear that Wendell's on the chopping block, but I can understand it. But again, the Hornets have a good team. The Magic, I expect for them to win. Now, to recap, because we already know who the 7th seed is and we got expectations of the 8th, we're going to not talk about, but I'm just going to list off the playoff going forward. We should have the Pistons versus the Magic, Celtics versus the 76ers, Knicks versus Hawks, and Cavs versus Raptors. Should be an entertaining one. And again, to be clear, on the Eastern side, I expect the higher seed, that means the lower number between the two, to win those matchups. I expect that. And then for the West, we got Thunder. I'm going to say versus the Warriors because I expect them to beat the Sun. Spurs versus Blazers. Nuggets versus Wolves. My Lakers versus the Rockets. I expect the Thunder, the Spurs, and the Nuggets all to advance. And I expect my Lakers to lose in solid fashion. To be clear, if the Rockets don't beat my Lakers in this first round, given how hampered we are, no Luka, no Austin Reeves, that means you just lose to Braun and company. That'll be tough. For Kevin Durant to lose to Braun, I can hear it right now. This will be the first time where a father-son duo wins a playoff round. And for that to be on KD's head, I think you got to reevaluate some things. So I expect the Rockets to win that one. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that does conclude the end of the episode. So again, please make sure to watch the NBA play, and it should be entertaining. But I'm curious who you all expect to win for that 8th seed. And then I'm curious what you all are predicting for the playoffs. But we'll talk more about the playoffs. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, like I said, that does conclude the end of the episode. So please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, tell anyone who's anyone about the show. My name is Trey. I'm the host of Get a Bucket. I hope you are all having a good one. Take care.